Words have a way of conveying meaning that could be interpreted in many different ways. Um, you take any word that its actual meaning depends upon where you're using it, because from place to place it could mean different things, or even in time. When you go back in time, it might have meant something else, and today it may mean something else. And the third thing also is it depends upon our own experiences and our own thought process and so on. So when we try to convey knowledge, one place to another place, or one person to another person, or from one generation to another generation, words are not necessarily the best way of doing it, but at the same time, we don't have much of a choice. So we do use it, not that we don't use it. But it'd be kind of nice if we can complement that, if not supplement it, with something else. And so in the Vedic thought or the Indic thought, people realized that over the last many thousands of years. So what they did was they used two other things. One is symbolism, the other is numerology. Because one thing is there, right? When you look at the form of something, like suppose I put a circle, the circle is always a circle, whether it was 1,000 years ago or 1,000 years from now, it's not going to become a square tomorrow, right? So symbolism, the form is not going to change. Similarly, numbers are like that too. If take the number five will always be a five. It's not going to become a six tomorrow morning, or in some other place, they would interpret six as four or something like that. That's not going to happen. So this series of talks slash videos that I want to make, I'm calling this symbols and numbers, and particularly as it applies to Vedic thought. Now, when you look at the number system, let's start from there. When you look at the number system, the interesting thing about the whole integers is that there are two at the two ends. On one end, you have zero. On the other hand, you have infinity, right? And these two don't behave in the sense that, like, if you look at all the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep going, how many numbers are there? Well, there are infinite number of numbers. They all behave themselves. All the rules of arithmetic, division, subtraction, multiplication, it applies to everything except these two things, zero and infinity, right? How can you say that 0 plus 0 is 0, or 0 divided by 10 is 0, but 0 divided by 100 is also 0, right? So, it's sort of, you start wondering what's with this 0. And the same thing with infinity too. Infinity doesn't have to behave in the sense that it doesn't have to follow the rules of arithmetic, right? So these numbers are used all throughout the Vedic thought in the Vedic literature. Um, and we'll look at several different numbers and its implications in subsequent videos as well. So I'm going to leave the zero and infinity, I'll keep it aside for the time being. Maybe in one of the following videos, we can look at that. I just want to look at the integers starting with 1 and going forward. And actually, I'm going to focus on one specific number. I'll come to that in just a minute. So if you look at 1, what can you divide 1 by? Just 1, that's it, right? And same thing is true for number 2, number 3. 4 you can divide it by, of course, anything can be divided by 1. So apart from that, if you take 4, you can divide by 2 and you can say 4 divided by 2 equals 2. You can do that, right? So it's not what we call a prime number. If you look at 5, 5 suddenly becomes a prime number, right? It is divisible only by 1. That's all. 6, you can divide by 2, you can divide by 3, and of course 1. But again, 7 becomes a prime number. So after that, you have to wait till 11 to see the next prime number. Now it turns out that when you look at these things, look at these numbers, I'm going to focus on number 7 today. Okay? If you ask me why 7, my answer is why not? we can focus on any number. So I'm going to focus on number 7. So I started thinking and I said, okay, so what are all the different places where this number 7 shows up, right? And interestingly, I can give you many things. We may not be, consciously aware of it, but when you look at, for example, there are 7 days in a week, for example, right? I said, okay, fine. So my thing is, how come there are no 8 days in a week? How come there are no 6 days in a week? Why only 7 days in a week? I'm just raising questions, right? And I'll try to connect some of these things in a few minutes. If you look up at the sky, you notice that there is something we refer to in Sanskrit as Sapta Rishi Mandala. Right? So Sapta in Sanskrit means 7. Rishi Mandala. So there are 7 stars, and these 7 stars are assigned to 7 Vedic rishis. It's their domain. That's where they are. I mean, this is what it says. Then there are 7 rivers in the Indian region, that area. Those are called the sacred rivers. So every morning, sometimes when we do puja and all that, so I say, Gange cha Yamane cha, Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, Sindhu, Kaveri. There's 7 rivers. Okay. It's not that there are only 7 rivers. There are other rivers too. There are plenty of rivers. He said that these 7 rivers, for whatever reason, were chosen and say, oh, these are special. These are sacred rivers. So if you go dip in that, something good will happen and so on. You may say, that's all some faith, whatever. But I'm just telling you all these things where the number 7 makes an impact, right? And I can go on and on and on. There's one other thing that all these things, for example, we take these 7 rivers, right? So if somebody says, okay, you go take a dip in that, your soul will be purified, your mind will be purified. He says you, I don't believe that. I think it's just a river. I take a dip. You might say that's your faith, it's your belief. True. But you cannot, even the number of days in a week, you say, okay, somebody said that there are 7 days in a week. I don't know why they did that, but yeah, they very well could have made like 8 days in a week. But I'll tell you one thing which man did not make. Okay. And that is the sunlight. So if you look at sunlight, that's something that I'm doing or you're doing. You take a prism, right? There's diffraction. So what happens is the sunlight, there are different components that will bend to different levels. We all know that. We did this in grade school or, some physics class. We did this experiment. So you know that there are these 7 colors. This is natural, right? This is nature. This is not something man-made. This is how it is. That's the light coming from the sun. Now, when you look at that, you say, okay, so what are all these colors? We were taught that starts with violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. Actually, I think we should go the other way. Normally, at least when I was taught in school, that's what they told me. But actually, we should go the other way, in my opinion. The reason for that, red has the lowest frequency. Violet has the high, in this visible range. This is the visible range, visible to humans. In the visible range, violet has the highest frequency, red has the lowest frequency, right? So I don't know. At least to me, it makes sense to start with the lowest color and go to the higher color, right? Anyhow, so if you start with the red color, right? There was a philosopher 800 years ago by name of Acharya Madhva. For those of you not familiar with him, he told us something. He said, look, um, on one hand, with my eyes, I can see nature and I can discern different colors. Like I can look at that and say that is blue. That's what I see. I see blue. And I can say that is green and so on. But he said that even energy has color in the sense that you cannot see it, but you can feel it. Internally, you can feel it, right? And each of these colors, there's something associated with it, right? So starting with red. So when we get energy from the sun, it's not just the light we are getting, we are also getting energy from the sun. Now, there is infrared and there's ultraviolet. So not that it's not there, that's coming also. It's just that it is not something that is perceivable to us, or it doesn't affect us, we can say, right? So in terms of sight, in terms of what I see, the lowest frequency that I can see as a function of the light coming from the sun is red color, right? Now, what about energy? Similarly, even though there are energies, the spectrum is very wide. The fact is that when you look at this red type of energy, the actual feeling or the meaning that is associated with this red color is actually what we call kama, which in Sanskrit, which means desire. So the lowest base color, which is the red color, that energy, all human beings, it doesn't matter who you are, where you live, what you think, and so on. We are all given that. So one energy, we are all blessed, we are all given that, no matter what, which is desire. Everybody wants something, whatever it may be, good, bad, or ugly, but they want something, right? So the desire is something that we are born with. That so as long as you're on this planet and you're subjected to everything in the universe, you're going to have desire, right? To the point where it was said that somebody said that I don't want to have any desires. I want to practice some, I'm going to do some yoga or something where I don't have desire. So the answer to that is, see, you still want to have no desires. So you still have a desire, right? So you cannot really get rid of it, no matter what you do. So because you still want something, and that's why. Otherwise, why would you hang upside down and all these things? Because you want something, right? So you have a desire too, right? So you cannot get away from that. Now, the question is, in this life, what is it that I can do to get to the other colors, or am I just given that? The answer is no. Because in the first place, why are we given this sharira, this body? In Sanskrita, we call the human body as sadhana sharira, right? Sharira means body, sadhana means accomplishment. So we have this body just so that we can accomplish something, right? So question is, accomplish what? What is it that I accomplish? Well, I'm not talking about the path that one chooses. Different people, for example, somebody may say, I want to be the greatest musician in this world. That's his or her thing, you know. Somebody else may say, I want to be the greatest athlete, greatest football player, or whatever, right? It's not a question of what path that you choose. The question is, using that path, where are you going? What are you getting? That's a bigger question. I'm a teacher. I've been, I'm an engineer and I'm a teacher. So I've designed things, I've built things. I also teach. I've done research. So that's what I did. But that doesn't mean that's suitable for everybody. You know, that's my thing. And somebody else may choose something else, which is totally fine. But in terms of accomplishment, no matter what path you choose, there is a fixed thing that happens, right? So, in terms of elevation, internal, mental, spiritual elevation. So, the very next level, if you look at these energies that are coming from the sun, we can think in terms of light. So, what comes after red? See, there's violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange. Right? So, the very next level is orange. In Indic thought or Vedic thought, it's not so much orange, it's more like a saffron color, right? So, this saffron color we associate with something we refer to as vairagya. So, why? What is that? What is this thing? What is this vairagya? It is the feeling that I don't form attachment to things. It doesn't mean that I won't exist within, not to run away from anything, but I don't like it. It's sort of like if I put my hands together, they're totally fine, right? Anytime I want, I can separate the two hands. Now, suppose these two hands start liking each other. So you put some super glue on the hand because I really like this other hand, you know. So I want to be with it all the time. So I put some super glue and then stick it together. And after 10 minutes, I, oops, I want to be away from it. And you have to tear it and it's going to bleed and it's going to hurt and so on, right? So that feeling of having that detached attachment, that is being together without getting stuck, that concept is what we call vairagya. And the energy that represents that is this saffron color. Then let's go up one step. So suppose I I elevate myself knowledge wise and spiritually and all that. The first thing that I get beyond, not that I got rid of the desire, but in addition to desire, I also form this detached attachment with things that are around me, right? I enjoy everything, I like everything, I can coexist with everything, but I'm not stuck to anything, right? That's one thing. The next, if you go, the next color, of course, is yellow, right? So, yellow energy, what that represents is purification, right? One of the things that is in nature that lately all over the world it is becoming very popular, but in India we've been using it for thousands of years, is turmeric. You know, turmeric is yellow and it's a disinfectant, right? So, you know, if you get a cut or something, you put some turmeric, it's like antiseptic, right? And today people are using it in tea and drinking it with water and things like that to clean the insides of the body and so on. But forget about turmeric. The fact is that color, that energy is also purifying and cleansing. That would be kind of nice, isn't it? Because if my thoughts are cleansed, my desire is cleansed, everything, my existence. So it's, in a way, it is sort of like living in a purified environment, if you will, not just physically, just like, we like clean air, right? And we want to drink clean water. It would be also nice to have clean thoughts, right? Not have dirty thoughts or polluted thoughts or be bombarded by polluting things that may cause anxiety or tension or fear or any of those negative things. So that the next level energy, that is, there's something coming, it's in the universe, right? But as I keep going higher and higher, accomplishment wise, next thing is my thoughts and my inner being will get cleansed. Beyond that, what happens? Well, at the next level, you have green, right? You notice that, like, if you're taking a drive, okay, suppose you're driving through the city, right? You look outside the window, you say, okay, you see buildings and you see traffic and you see all those things. Okay, fine. But once you get out in the countryside, the moment you get out of the city and you looking at the farms and so on, and you see this expanse of greenery. It could be trees, it could be lawn, whatever, right? When you see this expanse of greenery, you actually you feel good, don't you? You actually feel good when you see, instead of concrete buildings, if you see plenty of greenery, right? It's not just you feel good because you see with your physical eye, you see something green. Internally, in your thoughts also, that green, that expanse of green energy makes you feel good. It actually makes you feel good. It relaxes you. You just feel good. So what is this green expanse? That is what we call jnana, which is knowledge and wisdom. So when you have this expanse of knowledge and wisdom, that is a green type of energy, which will actually bring peace. By the way, there's nothing to do with religion or anything. This is just human nature. So as you know more and more of correct knowledge, and as you become a wiser and wiser person through experience, you see this expanse of this greenery in your heart, not just looking at um, you know, a big farm or something like that with your eyes, right? But that also gives you tremendous peace in your heart, and you just feel good, right? Now, all of this, there's nothing to do with anything supernatural or anything beyond the universe up until this point, right? Now, after this, there are three different levels, right? There's blue, indigo, and violet. This is where we start transitioning from the mundane and the nature and universe and all that into the spiritual domain. This way, now we are making a slight thing. So, what is this blue energy? Actually, we know that, don't we? Just like, I'm driving in the countryside, I see this big farm and green. Where do you see the blue? All you have to do is just look up. Of course, if it's a cloudy day or something, you see only gray. But suppose, let's say there are no clouds in the sky, and there are no clouds in my mind. There's no storm in my mind, right? If I look up, I see this expanse of blue. Where else do you see blue? Look at an ocean. Suppose you go up in a helicopter or something, or you're doing skydiving or something. You look down at this expanse of water. So anything that is big, anything that is very expansive, anything where you cannot even see the horizon, or you look up, you don't even know, look up in the sky and say, where does it end? Who knows? Nobody knows. So anything when you first encounter something where you don't know where the end is, or something which has no end. What do you call that? That's infinity, isn't it? Something that is limitless and something that has no end. In Sanskrit, we use this word. In Sanskrit, we use this word, right? Ananta. Ananta is the word used in Sanskrit for infinity. But actually, if you look at it, anta means end. Ananta means something that has no end, right? So that is infinity. So question is there some, so this is my first, I'm just getting my first peek first little glimpse of something that is so expansive that it seems limitless. And that energy color, that realization inside that there is something limitless. Now, I may not be able to define it. I may not know exactly what it is. I may not be able to touch it. You cannot go up and touch the sky, right? So it may be beyond my reach, but I can feel it. I can feel, I can just feel that no, there's something very big and limitless, right? So that realization that there is something like that, whatever it might be, your first glimpse, that is your first, that blue color, that type of energy in your heart. Now, you keep climbing. And when you do that, at the next level, there are different hues in that. The sky is not going to turn indigo. The sky is not going to turn violet. Neither the sea will turn violet. At least I don't think so. I'm not saying it. But as we look inwards and do tapas, that is contemplate on this expanse, we see that actually there are higher levels of this. And in human perception, that energy will change its color. Energy wise, it'll change. And your experiences will also become higher and higher. And yes, there is ultraviolet. The sun is putting ultraviolet also, but I cannot feel that. I cannot see that, right? Similarly, someday, who knows, someday I may be able to experience that as well. So this transition, that number seven is very important because we do have these different layers of energy that through tapas, through contemplation, through trying, we can all, as human beings, we can all experience all of these things. I'm going to take this and we'll stop at this point in this video. But what we will do is in our next video, we will try to apply it to some of the things that I talked about and see where is that connection between other seven things that we have. Thank you.